Good afternoon. My name is Rich Terapek, and I'm president of CMC Board, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here today. It's great to see such a crowd. In case you haven't done so, please, as Jane asked, turn into whatever position it is on your particular PDA. Turn your phone off. You can tweet still, and the hashtag is CMC Forum. Before we get into today's event, let me talk about some of the upcoming events. Next week's luncheon is Wednesday, again, March 14th, titled Grow Smart, Grow Regional, featuring Bart Anderson, Jenny Barney, Michael Hartley, and moderated by Chester Jordan from MORPC. You'll want to make a reservation for that. You'll find information on all the forums on your program and also at our website, columbusmetroduborg. And so take a program with you, keep it at the office, remind you, or at home, to remind you to sign up, and or post it someplace prominent so we get other folks to come on board. Because that's how we get new members. And speaking of new members, it's always a treat to introduce the new members, and I'd like to welcome Peggy Landini, if Peggy is here. Peggy, if you're here, please stand up. Welcome. If you're a guest today, I'd like for you to consider membership. It's real easy to join. There's a membership form on the table, and you can also just contact us at the CMC offices. And when you do so, we pay for the first lunch. Sponsorships, you have your program in hand. Please notice the companies listed on the back. They provide us about 50% of our annual budget, which helps keep the membership dues and the forum lunch prices affordable. And we'd like to thank all of them. If you know of someone among you who would like to be a sponsor, please contact our staff. We also enjoy the support of many community partners. Today's forum is the product of a collaboration of 4 organizations. I'd like to thank our partners today, United Way of Central Ohio, represented by President Janet Jackson, the Women's Fund of Central Ohio, represented by President and CEO Nicole Dunn, the YWCA Columbus President and CEO and former President of the Columbus Metropolitan Board, Elfie DeBella. And I'd like to add my thanks to Jane Scott, our Executive Director, for her role in developing the Capital Women of Distinction recognition. Please give them some applause. We're very grateful for today's sponsors. That includes the Columbus Dispatch and KeyBank, represented by Senior Vice President in Private Banking, Catherine Callard, and her associates from KeyBank for sponsoring the forum today. Let's welcome Catherine to the stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Catherine Callard, and as Rich mentioned, I am the Senior Vice President in our Family Wealth Group at Key Private Bank. My other role is I am the Central Ohio Chair of Key for Women, and that's a program that endeavors to bring support to women in the community with the goal of financial independence. Through that organization, I've met some tremendous women, and it still happens today. I've had some wonderful conversations at the table. And I will tell you, the Capital Women of Distinction are in no way an exception to this rule of amazing women. These women inspire. These women affect positive change. These women are trailblazers. And I'm going to have to look at my notes now because their accomplishments are overwhelming and I will miss something. So I will begin by telling you it's a pleasure to introduce 3 of the 18 women who were honored yesterday at the Capital Women of Distinction event at the Columbus Museum of Art. Our first panelist is the owner and partner of Midwestern Auto Group of Dublin. Besides her business, she has committed herself to many other organizations, particularly OSU's John Glenn Institute for Public Service and Public Policy, and other OSU sports, arts, and academic departments. She has also supported arts institutions in Columbus and the Women's Fund of Central Ohio. Please welcome Barbara Fergus. Our next panelist was the first African-American female to lead the Central Ohio Transit Authority, Dakota, where she worked for 22 years. She served as a board member for several organizations, including the Women's Service Board of Grant Medical Center, the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, the Columbus Ergon League, Capital University Alumni, and the YWCA. Please welcome Glenna Watson. Our third panelist is a community activist working on causes of education, the arts, and family advocacy. She is especially committed to the Negro College Fund, Friends of Art for Community Enrichment, Inc., the Ohio Wesleyan Upward Bound Program, and the Columbus Youth Foundation. Please welcome Catherine Willis. Our moderator this afternoon is well known for the 20 years he spent as an award-winning host of Open Line, a daily public affairs talk show on WOSU 820. He retired from WOSU in May 2009, but keeps busy as a poet, playwright, and professor. Please welcome Fred Andrle. Fred, here's your panel.
Well, thank you. Before we begin our discussion with Barbara and Glenna and Catherine, we'd like to take a moment to recognize the other 15 women of distinction with us, some of them as well today. At a ceremony yesterday afternoon, 18 women of distinction were honored. So if you're here, please stand and remain standing, and we'll take this opportunity to recognize all of you. And of course, here on the stage, we have Barbara, Glenna, and Catherine. Loanne Crane. Judy Garrell. Sylvia Goldberg. Mary Lazarus. Marcia Harold. Nancy Jeffrey. Catherine Levesque. Flora Del Fall. Elizabeth M. Ross. Techie Shackelford. Ann Isley Wolfe. Les Wright. Les back there. And three of the honorees are deceased: Cecilia Cullman, and two deceased were CMC founders, Phyllis Green and Mary Miller Young. So we'd like to recognize all of you today. Well, after we talk, the panelists and I will open at about 12:55 for your questions. There's a microphone down front. Come to the microphone and we'll have questions from you. But I wanted to, Catherine, you told me that one of your favorite quotes is, I'll start it off and I'll bet you can finish. There is a destiny that makes us sisters and brothers, right? Tell us about that.
No one goes too far alone. All that we put into the lives of others comes back into our own.
Yeah, none goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others come back into our own. So is that the spirit that animated your...
Yes, yes.
Tell me about, this would go for all of you, right? Barbara Fergus, that's true of you as well, I'm sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. We don't do anything alone. And collaboration is one of the highlights, and those that know me well know that I do it on a daily basis, putting women together and working for women's leadership tirelessly. It's important. You know, when males pop out, they automatically start networking. We do not. We have to learn how. And so I'm sure we all do a pretty good job of it, but I try to perpetuate that.
Mm-hmm. And Glenna Watson, you told me that what has touched your heart most was the personal stories of young people whose home experiences haven't been the best, but you've helped them go on to succeed in college. And with the Community for New Direction, tell us a little bit about that.
I think it's
And
one of,
come right into the microphone, right close.
oh, I'm sorry, I have to stand up. I think that that is one of the agencies, it's small, but it's overlooked far too much, I think, because it is an agency that is for the children who are underprivileged of white and African American, and now we have Somalians and others who have come into the community, and they do not have the exposure that average children would have. And so we have been given a home, and we've used each room for kindergartens all the way through the 12th grade so that they can have after-school tutoring. They have buses that take them to college, just to view the campus, to let them know.
You take them all over
There's
the
a college.
Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia,
Yes.
35
All
students?
around.
Yeah.
And it just gives them hope, and they come from families that would break your heart. They've come up in drug areas, they've seen brothers and sisters killed, and so
Yeah.
that's my passion right
Sure,
now.
that's your passion.
Mhm.
Catherine, you co-founded the Lunch Bunch, right? A group of more than 50 professional women, and you make sure that you select disadvantaged youths who have potential, and you give them college scholarships, but you also give them something else, and you give them personal attention. You develop relationships with them. Tell us about that.
Yes, Fred. I am one of the co-founders of the Lunch Bunch, and it's a group of women who are retired. And we started out being a group of retired educators, and we began to hear comments from people saying, well, we want to be a part of that. And so we determined that our only stipulation would be that you would be a retired person that was interested in making a difference for young people, and that's what we do.
And one of the graduates made this comment. He said, look, the money was wonderful. It helped us pay the tuition, but it's the personal attention, the phone calls. You go to see some of the graduations from college, right? Yeah.
Yes. One young man, we became involved with him when he was a student in middle school, and he was in a dysfunctional family, but he was very, very bright. And the way that I met him is that he became a part of our chess initiative at the Martin Luther King Library. He was one of our tutors. And so we walked with him. He got into high school, and we referred him to the Ohio Wesleyan University's Upward Bound. He got through Upward Bound. He finished cause, and he went on to North Carolina A&T and majored in engineering, and now he is an engineer, and he works with the government in some kind of, and because I don't understand, there's some kind of night vision he does with planes. And so,
Spies.
is that what it is? Okay. And so that's what he's doing. But I just had a conversation with him night before last, and he talked about the fact that, you know, his family was dysfunctional, and sometimes the kids would make fun of him because he didn't have proper clothes, but he always knew that there were a group of women that were, you know, supportive of him and being a coach and kind of pushing him on. And he said, sometimes, you know, I didn't want to do what you told me to do. He said, but I went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah.
And he said, I now know that it was really the best thing for him. So he's one of the ones that I'm really, really proud of.
You grew up in Cleveland in the projects, right?
Yes. I'm a project kid. And you know, I think that's one of the things that makes me so passionate about working with urban kids, because I was an urban child, and there was a group of women that was affiliated with it wasn't a hotel, and it wasn't an apartment building. It was a building that women coming from the south to the north that needed to have some protective housing lived in the Phyllis Sweetley home. And so there was a group of women in the community that were the members of the board, and they reached out to those of us that lived in the project and walked with us and helped us to become the best that we could be. And so as a result, I can't give it back to them, but I certainly can pass it on. And that's what I try to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Barbara, you told me that indeed you want to help women because they're not necessarily getting parity in all of these areas, right?
We all know that. So consequently, there have to be all sorts of organizations and people with a heart that go out, and within the John Glenn School, we work on that. When I got on that advisory board, I looked around and they were all men and me. And somehow or other in my life, I find myself in those positions. I mean, if you're in the automobile business, it's all the boys and me again. So somehow or other, you've got to give back and inspire and help women do more, learn more, be more, dream more. That's what I do.
You mentor women. They call you on the phone regularly?
Yeah.
You meet with them regularly?
Yes. Yeah. We have coffee. I have a favorite spot up in Dublin. And we meet and we talk about what goes on. It's all confidential. I don't pass anything on. They pass it on, not me. And there's probably a lot in this room that do that. What we do is we talk about what is and then what can be for them and for the community. And we always do it with a heart. You know, we listened to Weld the other night, and we heard about all the amazing women in this country. And the one thing that I noticed was we heard everything they do, but it's very important to me to mention that we need to have a soul in everything we do. And we need to have the connection between the fire in the belly and the heart. And without the heart, it really doesn't work so well.
Mm-hmm. Glenna, I asked you in our conversation previously what you thought of as a defining moment when you realized what you wanted to do with your life in helping others, and you had a very interesting answer. Yeah.
You got an interesting answer?
Yes, from Glenna here. Yeah.
But you can answer.
No, I don't.
You can all answer, yeah.
But I thought about that question, and volunteerism to me is probably one of the greatest gifts we can give to people less fortunate, to organizations that are trying to move along. I remember long way back with, some of you will remember Shar Wickham, and I think Mildred Chavis is here today, where we went to the Urban League Guild, and that was an organization formed to help the Urban League move along, which it's doing very well now. Was on the Martin Luther King board, one of the first, along with, I think Larry James is still on, from the time it began. And I just felt that the defining moment then, as it is today, is we're nothing without giving to others. We have to give to others so that they can come along and enjoy the life that we've had.
Why do you say we're nothing without giving to others?
I just think that to sit with, you could have all the riches in the world if you're just sitting and by yourself and no one around to help, no one to be a part of the social activity or communication. What is that? You're just not fulfilled.
Taking up space at that point.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what you're doing.
Catherine, Barbara, did you have what you think of as a defining moment when you realized who you wanted to help and how you wanted to do that?
I defer to you.
Okay.
You know, I'm not sure because I grew up in a household where my parents did that. My father was a Boy Scout leader, and he reached the status of being a Silver Beaver Scout. And so, you know, that's what I saw all around me. My mother was a housewife, but, you know, she was always involved in helping and doing things for other people. So I guess I just grew up that way, and I thought everybody was supposed to do that.
Yeah. Your parents were your models for this, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
yes.
Barbara, how about you?
A defining moment?
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems that every decade there's a defining moment in my life that instead of one mentor, I have situations that evolve, that demand that I learn more, spread out more, give more of myself. And so every time one of those defining moments occurs, I move with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is a writer and theologian, Frederick Buckner. He talked about finding a calling, and he said, quote, "Where your deep gladness meets the world's deep needs." Does that, where your deep gladness meets the world's deep needs, does that make sense to all of you? Is this your deep gladness to be doing what you're doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. To me, that's social change. My deep gladness is to see things change for people within the country, but let's narrow it down to the state, and then let's narrow it down to the community. I'd like to see things happen. I've often said, you know, Janet Jackson does an amazing job with so much in this community. And if we really got involved in social change over a period of time, Janet wouldn't have as much to do.
Catherine Willis.
I just wanted to say that my passion is really with urban youth because they don't, well, young people don't have any power anyway, but urban youth especially don't have any power. And they have to go with what the adults in their lives present to them. Yeah. And so I really like to work with them and make a difference and show them that they can succeed and be the best if they just keep their eye on the prize.
Sure. Glenna, is this your deep gladness as well when you see 35 students being taken to colleges all over the country to see what's going on?
Because we had I have to say this, one child that was taken off the streets from drugs and saw shooting and everything, and they got him into our program, and he is now in his second year at Bowling Green University, going all the way through this program. Mm-hmm. So, as I say, I think without the youth, that's what I meant, we're nothing. Yeah. They're the people that are going to come along and define this world, actually.
So do you think it's important that we help young people, because perhaps by the time they're older, it could be too late, right?
Yes.
Conceivably, yeah.
Yeah. The young and the old. We have to help them both.
Oh, tell me about helping the old now.
Fred, could I add something to that? I was talking today to someone. I believe that the youth, the 20s and the 30-year-olds, have all of a sudden, within the not too distant future here, been awakened. I think they thought that there were lots of people that preceded me, my generation, and those that come after, but the generations below that, we've done so much work and we've made so much advancement in so many areas. And I think that some of the kinds of things that we've been hearing on the television of late, and some of the people that we have heard say a few things, all of a sudden, I don't think our future for our young ones is as secure as we thought it was. And quite frankly, I think that's time for us to stand up and help them be aware that they need to take up the placard and that it isn't over and they can't coast. We've got to move forward on that.
You say they've got to take up the placard. You're talking about politically, social change. We have terrible problems of poverty, clearly. And
yeah, and taking care of themselves. How about women's health?
Well, you know, we talk also in terms of these honorifics and awards about philanthropy, and I guess sometimes maybe we think of philanthropy as something that people who have a great deal of money do, But I think the Women's Fund of Central Ohio, among others, makes the point that any of us can, in terms of the disposable income we have, be a philanthropist, right? Yeah.
At any age.
At any age. Say a little more about that, Barbara.
Well, think about the premise on which the Women's Fund was founded. Everyone is a philanthropist. Just think about that. That's pretty powerful. And then they built on that. And there's so many of those founders and women that belong to the Women's Fund here in the audience that I would not be so presumptive as to speak for them. But I think they saw all of a sudden that in addition to being a philanthropist, you need to help people do what I said earlier, social change. And that's been their main thrust over the years is social change. And the granting of, what is it, ladies, 1.3 million now? Are we at 1.3 million? 1.6 million? Oh my God. Anyway, granting dollars for social change for women in Central Ohio, that does move the needle.
Yeah. Glenna, you worked with the King Arts Complex to bring the arts to disadvantaged children. In fact, all of you have worked with the arts. So why are the arts important? It struck me that all of you had worked to bring the arts to the general community and to disadvantaged kids. Glenna, what's important about the arts? Why that?
Well, I think it broadens their horizon. They're exposed to areas that they might not get otherwise. It's why it's so disheartening when you hear schools saying they can no longer offer art or music or the kinds of things that we had coming along. It's important for a rounded personality, I think.
And Catherine, I believe you work with the organization FACE is the acronym, is that right? Tell us about FACE.
It's Friends of Art for Community Enrichment, and our target audiences are young people and senior citizens. One of the things that we're interested in is raising the historical literacy in our community. We don't have a lot of that going on, and I'd like to think that the King Arts Complex and the other organizations are in the process of doing that, not just for the African American community, but for the overall community in all. I can't remember the statistics, but I think I read somewhere where they were talking about the fact that our young people score very low in history when they take tests, and so that's something that we need to be aware of, is raising the historical literacy of our young people. And art does something for your soul. Either it's music or literature or drama, but it just does something for mine, and I think it does something for all of us.
Which of the arts especially appeals to you? What does something for your soul?
Music.
Music?
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. And Barbara, you, Columbus Symphony, the museum, Ballet. Yeah.
You said it. The arts is the soul of a city. Do you believe that there have been, what area has had more studies, more white papers, more consultants come in and try to decide just exactly in Columbus, Ohio, how does the culture and the arts fit? They even think about that at Ohio State. I don't think they've gotten to a point where they've decided exactly how it fits, but the Cultural Commission, of which I was a part, finally got a chart, and all the arts organizations were around the chart, and there was a hole in the middle. And the hole in the middle is the community under the mayor has to decide that art and culture are the most important thing in order to keep the city together, to keep the city networking with each other, and to keep them singing. And as soon as the center of our community grabs hold of that, I believe that all the rest of the art community would ally with that immediately. So that's a goal.
In just a couple of minutes now, just to give you a heads up here, you see the microphone about halfway down here, directly in front of. We'll ask you to come to the microphone if you have a question and introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and we want to mention, of course, that the CMC records all the forums for televised broadcast on ONN, so you'll be recorded for streaming on the website as well, and the Columbus Metropolitan Area Library website as well. Well, so you've all been vanguards in volunteering and philanthropy. What would you say to somebody who's sitting here today who says, look, I know there are all these things to be done. I mean, huge needs everywhere. So many that I don't know. I don't know what they might say. I don't know what my passion is. How do I discover my passion? How do I discover where my deep gladness will meet the community's deep needs?
Yeah, I think you have to decide whether or not you want to be an organizer or a money raiser. And what fits with your gut. If you like to go out in the street and raise money and interact and network with people, we need you. If you need to manage, there are those things that are loosely put together that need better management also. Once you've figured out which area you go, then it will open up.
Mm-hmm. Glenna, what would you say in answer to that question? How does somebody discover what they are passionate about?
Ask the question again.
Yeah, how would somebody out here who just doesn't know where they want to volunteer, where they want to contribute?
Well, for me, I tried several areas, starting, as I told you, back 50 years ago, and from one organization to another until I finally found where I really wanted to be. And of course, you know, for the Columbus Zoo, I thought at one time was the best thing you could ever be on, with the animals, that kind of thing. But then when you look around and see the need, Fire and Focus, for instance, with our friend Mrs. Beatty, started that for young children, disadvantaged children, because they're our future. And that's what I think is, as
Take
I
steps,
said, is the steps
and try
forward.
this and try that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catherine, what would you add?
I agree with them. I think that you need to kind of have some experiences and then determine what gives you the most fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
My fulfillment comes with young people.
Yeah. Do you think an artist could contribute just by doing their art and sharing
Oh,
it?
absolutely, absolutely. And you know, in my other life, I was a kindergarten teacher, so you know, kindergarten children love you, and you love them, and they want to do whatever will make you happy. And so they are a joy to work with, and they just absorb whatever you give to them. And I think I've seen an artist come in and work with little children, and they love it.
Surely. Well, we have some time for questions, and there's the microphone. Is anybody ready to come up here with a question for any of our panelists today? Don't be shy. Surely there's someone with a question among all 200 of us here today. Yes, we have one person coming to the microphone now. And you can line up at the microphone, that's fine. That's good. Maybe we've answered all the questions you say, Glenna. Okay.
My name is Linda Meadows, and I'm here with Anne Saucier, 90-year-old World War II veteran and very dear friend of Mary Miller Young. But my question for the panelists is this. Sometimes championing a cause can be very daunting and dispiriting and wearying. And sometimes one feels assailed and becomes pessimistic. So how do you remain vitalized and energized and optimistic?
Okay, good question.
It is. I think you have to realize the cause and stay focused on the cause. Everything isn't smooth and easy, and it does take hard work. But you have to know what it is you're trying to achieve, and once you've achieved it, you feel good about it.
Does the need sometimes seem so overwhelming, you know, and the little we each of us can do, that could lead to a kind of discouragement, I guess, huh?
That can be.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with people that agree with you.
That's right. That's right. You're right.
If you don't, it can hold you back.
Yes, we have another question here.
Hi there, my name is Lauren Hancock. I'm here today with Ruling Our Experiences. I'm one of the 20-somethings that you mentioned, and was wondering, what advice do you wish you would have had as a 20-something to become a woman of distinction and make an impact in your community?
Advice?
I started so late that I can't. But for 20-somethings, I have a group of 20-somethings, and we get together, we all have to have the same essence of what's important and what isn't important. And again, I said it earlier, you've got to decide if you're a good manager, or you're a good money raiser, or if you just want to sit behind a desk, or you want to work with children. You have to make those decisions. Is art important to you? The reason I got into the arts is because, not necessarily the arts, but I see that as the soul of a city. Without art and music and all that we have, and we have some very excellent organizations, they're not all hanging on by their fingertips. There are some very well-run organizations. You have to decide if that's important to you. I just look for the bigger picture rather than just which of the organizations seems to be great for me. I want to know how the city can benefit. If I can't see a goal way out there, or a vision, if you would, I probably am not there.
Catherine, how about you?
I think one of the things that I feel is that I didn't have the challenges in the 20s that maybe these young people have, and that's because I had a sense of a struggle. You know, when you struggle with something, it makes you stronger, and so you value it more. And I think many young people have not had a sense of a struggle, and so they really don't value some of the things that they should value. And one of the things that keeps me focused is that in whatever challenge I have, I keep saying to myself, you just eat the elephant one bite at a time, just one bite at a time, right? And that gets you over.
Thank you.
Glenna, do you have...
Oh, well, as I told you earlier, I tried many areas. And I think that's what you need to do, is look around and decide, first of all, what you're interested in, and secondly, how you can help in that situation, and go for it. Just get on the boards or do whatever you can to help.
Okay, we have another questioner upcoming here.
Sally Gibson, I have enjoyed. I really think this partnership is fabulous. How do we continue along this lines of doing more collaborations with groups here in the city? And whose responsibility, or who would be the primary person that could develop a community calendar so that we're not stepping on each other's toes and those kinds of things, because we're pulling on the same resources and friends and the like. So I'd like to see something come together so that we can support most things, all things, but not bumping heads with so much going on.
That sounds like a good project for you.
Very good, very good. Very good.
I mean, you identified the problem. You know how to go about it.
I figured you or Catherine would say that.
Anything further to say? Be careful when you identify a problem, I guess.
Give another assignment.
Okay. Yeah, we have another question upcoming here.
In follow-up to the question about, or talking about interest and how do you decide how to become involved, I wanted to ask if you don't think that there is some need for preparation and building awareness about the issue that you're interested in. And I say that because I remember some years ago when Glenna retired, and more than 500 people attended that retirement dinner. In fact, we had to cut off the registrations at one point. But those people came from all over the country, and they came from all different aspects of her life, which tells me that she was doing a lot of different things in addition to just being the general manager of CODA. So, and it also tells me that that's what's made her good at giving. And so I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for how does one prepare themselves to become involved and to be effective.
And you're looking at me. Well, I will say that, first of all, being at CODA demanded, in a way, some volunteerism. There was always groups of people that were asking you to help and to get on various boards, mainly for transit services. So that is one way that I became interested. The other one is, I've said all along, youth. I just am so interested in young people coming along, and when I saw various areas that were helping the young, I let it be known I was interested, and you know, you don't have to say much to volunteer.
No. That's right.
All they have to hear is the interest.
Kathy?
I think one of the things that we have to do is that we learn by doing. When I work with young people, one of the things that I keep my antennas up is to find out what kinds of responses am I getting from their parents. And in many instances, the parents need some help too. So not only do you help that young person, but you can help their parent. Many times when there are issues with money, you know, they just pull back. They're not as involved in things that you think they should be involved in. You know, they don't come to the school because they're trying to determine how I'm going to pay the rent or how I'm going to pay the utility bill. And so it's not that they're not interested, but it's just not a priority for them. And I think when you're volunteering, you also have to listen and hear some of the things that are going on, because many times until you walk a mile in a person's shoes, you really can't evaluate what it is that they're about.
I think you have to pay attention to your emotional cue rather than your IQ. You have to know yourself, decide what you do best, and decide where the soft belly is in your life, and then surround yourself with the best people that you can find.
Other
Fred,
question?
this is Janet Jackson from
Yes.
United Way, and I'm going to break a rule. I am not here to ask a question, but to actually answer the one that just came up for the young women in the room, because there's some great opportunities for you to develop yourself to become even better volunteers. So at the YWCA of Columbus, there's Gen Y, there's Leadership Columbus. Through United Way, there is Project Diversity, Pride Leadership, the African American Leadership Academy. So I want the younger women especially to know that there are opportunities here in this community where we will help you grow in your volunteerism. And to the previous person who asked a question, to Sally, in terms of collaboration, I can reassure you that the 4 organizations that collaborated on this, run by extremely capable women, will continue to collaborate.
Thank you, Janet. Well, we'd like to say, Rich, before turning it over to you, Catherine Willis, Glenna Watson, Barbara Fergus, thank you for your many, many years of service, and all the honorees today.